It really is about making sure if you don't hit that $2,000 in our case a week, then we'll top that up. And we don't just give you the money, we actually give you tasks to do and an allocation of a certain amount of money towards that task. By doing those tasks, you get greater exposure to your client base, and that helps you to build your business.
So welcome to the Jim's podcast. We've got Phil from Jim's Building Inspections joining us today. And Phil's been with us for 13 years. So I've been with one more year than you. I was just joking off camera saying, I think you've made a little bit more money than me with the gym system over the years. But great to have Phil on because Phil's very involved in Jim's Building Inspections. He's helped us out for a lot of videos as well, trying to really educate the public about the quality that our guys have. So we've got you on today, Phil, to talk more about the franchise opportunity. Just sort of the common questions you get, who it suits, and why this is a great division for someone maybe looking to exit the building game or come from, it's that type of field into this division. So welcome, Phil.
Thank you. Interesting. I don't know if I have earned more money. I think you've done more to help the business. So maybe if we get that in balance, how we work together.
I wish Jim would maybe up me a bit for that. But I was going to say as well, Phil, 13 years ago, what were you doing prior to gyms and how did you get involved in the division?
I'm one of those people that's got a very diverse background. So I've always had a sideline in construction, built a few decks, pergolas, small projects, that sort of thing. So I'm not your typical builder. More a manager and more a trainer. So training is definitely my strength and my background.
Built
a lot of technical knowledge because I became a trainer at Vic Uni, where I was teaching people certificate for building construction, how to become a builder or a building surveyor. So I invested a lot of time in my own personal knowledge in that building area.
Was that just because it was a passion for yours or what?
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing about building, it gets into your veins. It really is something I think most people get into that industry, stay in the industry. And what gyms does, it gives you that pathway to transition, particularly as you get a bit older and the knees sore, the back sore, shoulders are gone, whatever it might be. This is a way to take your knowledge and give something back. One of my great passions is in training and helping people. So being able to do that, that's really important.
So as a franchisor, it's probably the perfect role for you, franchisor, with your background. So how do you integrate that training experience into your role as a franchisor? And first off, before we continue, probably tell people what a franchisor is in your role, and then maybe let's talk about the training side of it.
So easiest way to think of a franchisor is an area manager. We have a large area that's set aside, and from that we recruit and we train and develop people to work in territories. Not quite a suburb, it can be a different shape to a suburb, but it's an allocated area with a number of houses in it, which is what your base is. But that base is what you build from. You're not limited where you can work, but that base is your business as such.
And with your training expertise, how involved in the training with the guys are you and what's involved in it?
It's interesting. Some franchisors do it differently. My focus is very much about being very personal with my franchisees. I like to spend the time to get to know them, to train them, to offer them the mentoring and support, and to be there with that technical knowledge to help them when they need it.
And I was going to say, how long is the training process then and what's involved?
It probably takes the best part of a year to bring a franchisee from when they first inquire to going through their initial training, but to develop enough confidence and expertise to provide most of the services that we provide, but they choose to do. So they don't always have to do every service. They can select or specialise the particular type of service they do. Some like new construction, some like pre-purchase, and some like to offer those other more niche markets, things like asbestos identification, termite, timber pest. There's a whole lot of different services we provide.
Now, you said it takes typically a year for someone from an inquiry to come on board.
Yep.
Is that because there's just a lot of uncertainty with the business, or they're feeling us out, or is the training, or what's involved with that?
No, quite the opposite.
Right.
So we have a very disciplined and structured way we approach the business. So from an inquiry stage, we go through a lot of filtering. We want to make sure we get people with knowledge and expertise. So bringing those qualified people into the business is really important. Our bare minimum entry point is a certificate for in building construction. Ideally, we look for people that are builders or allied trades, carpenters, people that have worked in the industry and understand how to build a house here in particularly Victoria, in my case, but right across Australia. It can be different in different states. We also look for building surveyors, engineers, building certifiers in other states, which is similar to a building surveyor. People that have got that technical knowledge, might be architects, designers, those sorts of people. They really get building and how it performs over time.
in franchising, a lot of people get attracted to seeing the words income guarantee, but in gyms we call it the pay for work guarantee. So I want to just talk about how ours is different and talk about how much is on offer in that division.
Yeah, so the pay for work guarantee is part of the gym's model. We want to make sure our people are okay when they come into the business. So if you're out there earning income at the start, you may not hit that benchmark every week. And that's the minimum. You can earn a lot more. Some people take it as a cut-off, but it really is about making sure if you don't hit that $2,000, in our case, a week, then we'll top that up. And we don't just give you the money, we actually give you tasks to do and an allocation of a certain amount of money towards that task. By doing those tasks, you get greater exposure to your client base, and that helps you to build your business. So whilst we're giving you some money, you're also getting the skills and exposure to build the business that almost guarantees that you're going to be successful. It still means you've got to put the effort in. We don't just hand out money for sitting at home.
That's an important thing to point out, is that we're paying you to build your business. It's a very unique part of the gym system. I remember I was talking to Jimmy about this, saying, did you invent this? And he was sort of thinking, yeah, I did. So it was sort of because a lot of people promote their franchise offering as you're going to earn 120K with a big asterisk next to it, right? And there's all these terms and conditions, and it doesn't really help you in any way long term, because you might get a cash lump sum, but you haven't done anything for it. Whereas with gyms, can you just give an example of what would be a pay for work guarantee task they have to do to claim it?
So one of the things we do in building inspections is we'll get you to do a free building inspection.
Yep.
Nobody pays for that up front. We as the franchisors pay that money to you, and we allocate, for example, $250 for you to go out and do an inspection where you might say to a real estate agent, see you got a new listing, can I go out and inspect that house? There's no client. So we'll go out, we'll inspect it. We want to do okay houses. We don't want the worst house they've ever listed. So if we go out there, we write a report on a good home. We'll then put that report up for sale on our e-commerce website. So not only will you get paid the paperwork guarantee, you've got a chance of selling that report multiple times, which means you get that income as well. We've had reports that have sold over a dozen times on one house.
Wow.
So if you're pulling, say, $400 to $500 times 2, 3, or a dozen times, it doesn't take very long for your income to pick up. But more importantly, you're building that relationship with the real estate agent and getting exposure to a lot of clients. That gets momentum, and that builds your business, builds your income.
Just how, obviously there's a lot of different other franchise brands options out there. There's a few in building inspections, which I'm aware of.
Yep.
But how much, in your opinion, does brand matter? Because I think people underestimate it sometimes, and I think they might look at a pay for work, let's say an income guarantee for another franchise offering, but I think they discount how powerful the brand can be. So from your perspective, how does it work?
I think there's a few things to be really cautious about. The old saying of you get what you pay for, I don't think it ever rings truer when you talk about buying a franchise.
Yep.
Do your homework. The ACCC sends out an advisory that you should read, and it suggests to you to make sure you shop around, look at all the clauses, understand the benefits, but also the risk. With gyms, we've been doing this a very long time, and the key is getting it right, choosing the right people, and being true to what you promise. If you deliver on what you promise, then you have happy franchisees, and that's our goal, to have happy franchisees. People are earning good money, that's important. So one of the things you'll look at is not just the cost of buying into, but what's their selection criteria. If they take anybody, what does that tell you about the strength of their product? If you don't have people with technical knowledge and expertise, anybody can do the job, well, the person they put on next week, that's the sort of person that's going to be controlling the standard of the business. Gyms is highly regarded for a reason. We're good at what we do. The training we put in, as I said, over 12 months. You look at your initial inquiry phase from when you're recruited, that'll take about 3 months before you even get a start. There are training courses to do all through that process. So as you come on board, supervised training, taking you out into the field, the expertise part of it is developed to refine it, to give you a high quality product. Our reports are a standalone, absolute standout. You know, people look at them and it's a wow factor. It's for a reason. You know, we do hundreds of thousands of reports a year now with over 190 franchisees all around Australia. I've got 21 in my team at the moment, and I'm building that slowly but surely. We don't put on lots of people, we put on quality people. That's what we're looking for.
Now, you mentioned the reports. So do you want to talk about the technology or the app that they get access to if they become a franchisee?
Yeah, we have an in-house product called BuildSpec, and that's been around now since around 2012 when I joined. It's been refined, and we're actually just releasing the newest version of that. That's coming out very, very soon. Just going through the last stages of testing, and then we'll release it to all of our franchisees. It allows you to do an inspection on site, put all the information into the report, and selecting from a drop-down field on all the different defect categories. We also modify those defect statements to make sure they're very applicable to that exact defect or item that we're looking at. So it's a high quality, highly referenced statement, and then that's compiled into our report with a hit of a button. It used to take me 6 to 8 hours to write a report. Today I can do them in about 45 minutes.
Wow.
But that's in addition to the time spent on site.
Yeah.
So,
And I was going to say as well, territories. So there's a lot of times, I think there's a lot of wrong information about territories in franchising and how they work, especially with gyms. So just to explain for people looking at it, how do the territories work? Can you only take work inside your territory, or how does that work?
And that's really important. It takes a little while for people to get their heads around how a territory works. But in the gyms model, we don't restrict where you can work. We encourage you to work as far as you're prepared to travel. But ideally, you want to try and bring your work closer to home. So our territories allow you to build your business in such a way that you don't have to travel any further than what you choose to. In the early days when you're keen and you're looking for work, you might travel for up to an hour. But ideally, once you start to get more customers and more clients, you start to weed those down a little bit, bring it closer to home. The more work you do close to home, the more referrals you get. Life becomes a lot easier. You don't spend time travelling. And if there's one thing you really don't like in business, it's spending time sitting in your car in the traffic going nowhere. Unfortunately, that's been Melbourne for quite a while.
It's not going to change. And I was going to say as well, with and then another common question I know you'll get: how much will I make? How much will I earn? So how do you generally answer that one?
Earning is really important. There's probably a reason why you're in business. You want to earn money. But I think the key to being successful, and most people that are highly successful will tell you it's about work-life balance. Working out, do I want to earn a high amount of money, working 20 hours a day, or do I want to earn a good amount of money where I've got time for my kids or for my favourite pastime, doing the things I like to do? It's about some discipline and having the choices. And the good thing about a franchise model like ours, you have unlimited choices. You decide when you're going to work, how far you're going to travel, what days you work. You can make yourself available late at night or early in the morning. You can turn it on and off at your discretion. That's the beauty of it. You don't have a boss standing behind you telling you it's time you clocked on or you're late. That's totally up to you. Mind you, we don't want you to be late for a client appointment. So
No, you're in trouble for that.
we have some controls in place there where we want to make sure people are doing a good service and giving great customer service. That's our absolute mantra when it comes to looking after clients.
And I will say to people watching this who want to learn more about financials or anything like that, just inquire, because you get a list of franchisees you can speak to as well. Ask them directly. We've got podcasts where people share that as well, so please hunt them down. Now, with people in your division, you've brought in a lot of franchisees over the years. What type of people or person are you looking for? What traits do they have? And what sort of advice would you maybe give for them in terms of maybe questions to ask you, or what should they do before coming on board?
Yeah. Look, the absolute most important thing when a person wants to join gyms, we want to make sure you're a good fit for the business, and we've got to be comfortable that you're going to be successful. If we don't believe in that, then we'd rather say, no, this is not the right choice for you. Investing that time, your money, and all that effort into someone signing a contract, if they're not going to be happy, that's not a good fit for any business. So recognising that and having the skills at the recruitment stage means you get good fits for the business, good people, and happy people. If that doesn't quite work out, and sometimes it's hard, when you interview people, they want to tell you, the things you want to hear. The skill is to be able to work through that. We like people to do their due diligence, going out on site, seeing what the people actually do in the job. That's part of our ride-along approach. So in the early stages of making the inquiry, we encourage you to go out with an existing franchisee. Spend half a day, see what they do, and ask any question you want. Ask about the support you get, the training you get, the potential revenue that you could earn? They're all questions that you're better to ask people in the business than just the person selling you the business. So from my side of it, being as honest as you can, open about things, means people have the opportunity to make an informed decision. From that stage, the next part is coming back and we'll spend time working on your business plan, your cash flow, making sure you understand what going into business is all about and where the opportunities are.
From doing so many podcasts with the Jim's Building Inspection boys over the years, I guarantee you they will say, I should have done it years ago. So just, if they don't say that, I'll give you a slab of this Jim's lawn like we've got in here, but I guarantee that's what they will say to you when you go out with them, and that's the best thing to do. I was going to say as well, fees. Because fees in franchising, people generally think, gyms will take 30%, start your own thing, it's a lot easier, all that sort of stuff. So what is the fee model in gyms?
So our fee structure is a flat structure. You know from the very start, day one, how much you're going to pay per month based on what your fees are. And those fees include your franchisor support, they include the marketing, and there's a few small back-end fees, things like a call transfer fee, 40 cents, those types of things. So each month you've got a set amount. The one variable fee is your lead fee. When it's variable, what we mean is that's the one thing you can control. So by getting more of your own work, you can dial down the number of leads you take. That means that your fee price will always stay at the lowest level. When I've got franchisees that take no leads, they pay exactly their monthly fee. They know where they're going. And I've got guys in the business that have been with me now for 13 years that just pay their monthly fee. They take no leads. I've got other chaps, they'll take the leads that come in because that helps them. They're happy to do that. We don't have a problem with that. But ideally, the more money you make is predicated on how much work you build into your business with your business model.
So why do people stay then? Might be a common thing people are thinking. If they've got their clients, they've had their existing clients for 10 years, never taken a lead from gyms for 10 years, why do people then stay with gyms?
There's a few reasons, but one of the simplest reasons is why do people ring gyms for a job? Because they trust them. That is about brand recognition and safety in having a good quality, trusted brand. So if you've been in the business for a while, you have the benefit of the gym's profile. And that's really important for some people. For other people, it's about the support, being part of a group. I know when I was doing building inspections on my own, I had my own little business, it was about me, nothing else. And when I left that, there was nothing to sell because I left the business. There was no business. But being in a team environment where you've got a dozen, or in my case, 21 different inspectors out there, that means you've got someone to call, whether it's about a technical issue, whether it's about a mate type issue, just to have a chat. People check in on each other just to make sure they're doing okay. People invite each other out for a golf day or a barbie or whatever it might be because it's a team environment, and that's something we're very proud of.
And because I know the Jim's Building Inspections division, your own separate office as well. You've got an operation there which is quite substantial, which is all about supporting franchisees. So do you want to just give franchisees a bit more of an insight as well when they buy into to being a franchisee in your division? What else does that come with?
Yeah, so the business itself, being Jim's Building Inspections, that operates right across Australia. So again, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. If we added up the years of experience with all of those builders and people that have done thousands and thousands of inspections, that's just enormous in itself. Then within the Jim's Building Inspections, we also have how we operate in Victoria versus New South Wales or Queensland. There are different rules and requirements, so that's another subset, if you like. But the one thing that's most critical is when we get out to the regions. As a regional franchisor, I set the tone about what I want my team to look like, and I refer to them as a team. They're very important as far as what I can do for my team and how that team functions. That sense of harmony and togetherness and support, I think that's quite unique. And it does come down to leadership to some extent. The franchisor sets the tone, but it also comes down to how that team functions within itself. Nurtured, grown the right way, it's a strong business.
Jim's Building Inspections, even though I work for gyms, all the divisions have their own unique culture, and JBI, we call it JBI, has definitely one of the strongest cultures, and there's a real team aspect that I do feel when I go to meetings or gone to the conferences as well. Everyone gets along, everyone there's to share knowledge. And one thing you might want to point out for people is about, well, someone might be going, there's 193 building inspections, is there enough work? Are they all my competition? Do you want to just comment about that sort of
Yeah.
thing that we see a bit online?
That's a really interesting one. I know when I looked at joining gyms back in 2012, I had a notion that one day it might even get to 200 inspectors, and I thought that was an outrageous number. And that's because most inspection companies are one or two people. They're mum and dad businesses. There's only two or three around Victoria that have got half a dozen or more people in them. So when I thought 200 was a lot, I thought maybe one day. Today, I think that's potentially 2,000 quite easily in Australia. We barely scratch the surface as far as market share goes, and we are by far the biggest. But there are so many small operators out there. What's disappointing, though, is a lot of those small operators have had no training. They've got very little understanding of what's required. They often market themselves on the basis of being cheap. And I come back to what I said before, you get what you pay for. Getting a cheap building inspection doesn't mean you get a great building inspection. And yet people are spending, the average house I think in Australia now for a pre-purchase around 970,000. That's a lot of money when you're paying a pittance to have someone go out and do a building inspection. So getting someone that's good at what they do, highly trained, professional, provide a professional report that's very detailed, that's the sort of thing you want to invest in. And again, the price is still very cheap for the service we provide.
Absolutely. And I was going to say as well, success stories. Is there any success stories that stand out to you? We've obviously just had a franchisee, Daniel, before. He was great to chat to before. He was one of your franchisees. He's got a good story. But is there anyone else that comes to mind from your division?
You know, I look at my guys and I've got half a dozen different approaches to the business. I've got one chap who only does one type of inspection, a pre-purchase on an existing home. One price, that's it. Doesn't matter whether it's a big house or a little house, old, new, on a slab or on stumps. His price is what he does it for. So everybody in that particular town that he operates in knows, get this guy, he charges this much, but he doesn't do anything else, just a pre-purchase. That chap is making in excess of $300,000 a year.
Wow.
And he does it because he's doing his 3 to 4 inspections a day, works 48 weeks a year and takes 4 weeks off and goes and has a holiday. It's a really simple approach to it, but he does it extremely well. He communicates with his clients. He works with the industry as far as real estate agents go. He's right across it. He on-sells reports directly where he's selling them the second and third time, dealing with the clients. He's just a professional business operator. If you need a pest inspection done, he'll refer you to another chap that can do it, work in together with them. So he's happy to do that. But he doesn't want to do new construction. He doesn't want to do asbestos or tax depreciation schedules. So that works for him. When it comes to a different model, I've got chaps that are prepared to travel 100 kilometres in any direction, go and do it, any job, anywhere. And they work damn hard to make good money, but they make good money, but it's a very different approach. So it really does come down to what style of business do you want as to how much money do you want to make.
I think, 300K revenue and the expenses obviously are very low. What's the cost? You have the monthly franchise fee, you obviously have a bit of fuel maybe.
I think the easiest way to look at that is to say, what does it cost a year? And if you think about it, if you're making simple numbers, if you're making 200 grand a year and you're spending 20,000 on fees, I reckon you're doing pretty well.
You're doing pretty well. It's a great ROI, and I think it's something we need to communicate better or more of. Is just like when people look at a home service model to a quick service restaurant franchise, the ROI in the home service one is by far the better model and better option for a lot of people. But a lot of people get attracted to that. All right, I'm going to spend 300 grand or 400 grand on a site, and I'm going to generate all this revenue. But then you look at the figures at the end of the day in terms of the net profit on the business, it's far not as much as they generally think. And we've actually in training. We've had recently, not bagging QSR, quick service restaurant franchises, but a few people come from those systems into gyms. Then I interview them a year later and they just go, they can't believe the difference in profitability, how they work less and more money, make more money from the business with us.
I think it's also important to keep things in perspective. We can always talk up people that are high-end earners, but if you don't do the work, if you sit back thinking it's going to be easy, you're not going to make money in any business. So franchise is no different. It's small business operation. So I encourage people to work with the system to make sure you're making the best out of all the opportunities. And talking to your franchisor with their experience helps to propel you forward. If you're sitting back and you're waiting for things to happen, adopting a negative approach and blaming people,
Yep.
doesn't matter whether it's gyms or any business, you're not going to make money.
Absolutely, and that's a good thing they should ask themselves before coming in. Are you someone who's proactive, where you can take charge of your situation, or you expect us to give you 50 leads a month and not do anything to market your business? And that's where I see from my years' experience here, where people fail the most is when they come in and think gyms is going to give them 30 or 40 or 50 leads. Some divisions do get that, but you've also got to get your own stuff, and that's the key. You've got to be proactive in your business. And when you're proactive, like Daniel, who we've interviewed before, he's off leads after 12, 13 months because he's been proactive in networking and generating his work and just loves it. But I think the thing we need to point out for people too is the strength of the brand with real estate agents and conveyancers and all these other buyers agencies. They've probably used Jim's mowing or Jim's cleaning on something on their property before, had a good experience, hopefully, which I'm sure they would have. Just makes them far more receptive to us than other people.
Absolutely. It can't be understated just how strong that networking approach under the Gyms brand is. It's a fantastic leverage for us, and it means that people are getting that consistent level of servicing. The way we train our franchisees is about looking after your clients, getting it right consistently, being really responsive to inquiries, getting back to them within minutes. It's pretty unique. Most times you ring up for a trading, well, good luck. Even if they do answer the phone, they might come out, maybe they'll turn up. Good luck getting a quote. We get our stuff out really, really quickly. We answer the phone, and in fact, we often get our calls, if you call the call centre, transferred straight over to the franchisee. They're talking to you on the spot, which means they're giving you the right answers.
Well, how strict is the Gym's customer survey system? Because I think we need to really put this out there a little bit more about how strict it is, because you mentioned that before, and it's a great point. People can't get a trader to rock up on time, in uniform, just not even rock up at all, give a quote, etc. And what's your recourse? Leave them a bad 5-star review, like they're going to do it to other people. So
probably take it back to how we set the tone. We set the tone with our trainees on day one when they attend our very first Jim's generic training. Who's the first person they get to see? Jim himself. So he's a very real man. He comes in and he says, "G'day." He'll talk to you about what's expected. And by setting that tone from that very first day, people understand this is what we do. We expect you to answer the phone within 10 minutes. Now, in most cases, we'd rather you answer it straight away, because if people are waiting in today's world, they're not going to sit around for very long. They'll be on the internet or they'll be ringing around getting someone else. So your opportunity's missed. If you haven't dealt with an inquiry within 2 hours, by default, that's an automatic complaint in gyms. We don't tolerate people being lazy, getting back to clients. So that benchmark is really strongly adhered to. When a complaint comes in, the expectation is we make it right. We do what it takes to fix it up. Now, not every complaint can be repaired, but wherever it can, we try to fix that. We hold franchisees to account. If you get too many complaints, you're back in for retraining, and if that doesn't work, you can ultimately lose your franchise for poor customer service. And that's written into your contract, so it's very clearly stated. Seldom happens, but it can.
Yeah, and I think franchisees, from my perspective, they take complaints very personal, so they get really worked up about it. So I think it might not sound like it's a good thing for the franchisee, but I think as a customer, like, franchisees really do care. And you know yourself as a franchisor, when a franchisee gets a complaint, you're getting probably a call straight away, and it can be quite emotional. But I think that's a good thing about the gym system, is just how emotional and how much our franchisees do really generally care about customer service.
And as a franchisor, I also take it very personally. I find it's one of the hardest things. When we have to go and inquire as to why it's gone wrong, what's gone south, that takes its toll as well, because you're now talking to the client. It's a bit like working through people in any dispute. So you're trying to get down to what are the facts and how do we fix this? How do we rebuild the relationship or get things back on track? Sometimes there can be fault on either side. It's not always just the franchisee. It can be a client issue too. But we work through that very closely. And we do take it very seriously.
And as you would know, Jim himself is involved with the complaints process, and you don't want it to go to Jim, so you have to resolve it if you can.
No, there's a couple of things that Jim won't do. He's not really good on technical services like a building inspection. He doesn't want to know about those, but he is really good on complaint management. I don't think, I've spoken to Jim thousands of times. I don't think I've ever had a situation where Jim has not had the answer or the experience when it comes to dealing with client complaints.
That is true, and hopefully one day we can upload that in AI. We can have the complaint management system that doesn't need to go by.
Talk to the plastic gym.
Talk to the plastic gym, exactly right. But also, we mentioned technology before, but I do want to go back on it before about we say lifestyle business, right? We have a system called Gyms Online. Now, do you want to just talk about people about that system and how that allows them to do what you're saying before regarding their territory and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so the franchisee has ultimate control. They can log on and they can set the time that they're prepared to take inquiries. So that doesn't necessarily mean the time of the day you work. That just means when those inquiries are coming through. So, for example, if I'm going out to play golf on Wednesday afternoon, I don't want to be disturbed on the golf course. I'll log off. I'm not taking any inquiries. So if I don't want to take inquiries because I have enough work, I can log that off. I can set my availability for up to 10 working days in advance. So it just means that I don't have to worry about it every single day. But at a heartbeat, something might change where suddenly I get a call, I've got to be somewhere. I can call the call centre and I can ask them to log me off as well. So that flexibility is endless. I can also nominate the services I want to do. So I might be down for a particular type of service or working in a particular part of town. I'm prepared to pick up a job in that part of town because I'm out there today. That gives you so much flexibility. And that's all done using our unique app that we can dial into as well.
And partners in the business. So I've met a lot of building inspections who do it as a team, which is great, husband and wife team.
Yep.
So partners in the business. I'm sure you get a lot of questions from the partners as well, whoever's looking at the franchise. So what are the typical things the partner asks you about the business?
I think some of our most successful franchisees are ones that have partners helping them out in the business, looking after the back end. So you don't necessarily have to have the technical knowledge to do a building inspection, but it might be that you're looking after the invoicing, managing some of the appointments, all of that type of thing is certainly value added. Some of our partners have gone on to become, I'll call them co-inspectors. They'll go out and they'll do some of the services that don't have the technical prerequisites. So we can train people up on how to do an asbestos identification, for example. So termite timber pest training. You can learn to do those specialist areas and support your partner while they're in the business. So suddenly it becomes a more holistic approach for the family. Mum and dad are working in the business or a co-partner, whatever that might look like, and everybody has a chance to add value to it. You can also expand your business. As a franchisee, you can put workers on working in your franchise, which is great because it just means you can take on more work, that's potentially a lot more revenue, and give you more flexibility with your business. So there's a few different arrangements there.
I think in your division, we probably don't talk about it enough, but I think from doing a lot of interviews with ex-builders in your division, when I talk to them, how relieved they are. You can take them back to their day when they were a builder or they had a building company, and you just see the stress come back in their face. And then I talk about obviously the comparison for what we do now, and you just see how much happy they are. So from your perspective, because you're seeing a lot of people exit the game, and you know how it can be a tough game.
Yep.
How big is the mental health or the mental side of it when they come to you?
Absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to say, but I wouldn't be a builder. I literally wouldn't take on the responsibility. It's huge. Not only do you have to provide whatever it is you're building, let's say a home, you've got to provide the warranty that goes with it. That's for up to 10 years. So for 10 years, somebody can come back and have a bit of a crack and say, oh, my bathroom's leaking and that's your fault. Or I had a case, I do VCAT matters as well, but I had a case that went to VCAT and they claimed that the insulation hadn't been installed in the house that they bought. They were the second owner. Now, the builder was taken to court and actually had to pay on the basis that there was no insulation there. But we're able to also show that there'd been insulation in the roof, it had been removed. And it's just amazing how much responsibility is. As a builder, you know the difficulty in managing trades. It's an absolute challenge. That's being polite. But also things like getting payments in. Getting that money in to pay your trades is really important. Cash flow is everything. In gyms, we actually have a really strict policy. It's cash flow positive. We get paid before we release the report. So if we've booked an inspection, we'll go out there and do one. I've done one this morning. I will not release that report until the money's in the bank. So I'm never looking for money. It's always there. Just makes good sense.
It just sounds like it's such a good transition for people. Just they don't want that stress anymore. Don't deal with employees, all that sort of stuff, and they can still make great money. But just have a lifestyle business where they're using their skills, and that can lead them into the next phase of their life. But they have that really good transition business which they can go into.
And the other thing is you can actually turn off. If
Yep.
you decide you want to go on a holiday, it's not the end of your business. You can actually assign work straight over to your other franchisees in your group. They'll pick it up. They'll happily do it for you. And when you come back, that client is still your client.
Yep.
So you're not losing your work. You're actually getting someone else to look after it. That takes so much stress out of things. You can't do that if you're trying to build a few houses and you've got trades that aren't, turning up and things aren't. That will all just go to crap.
Now, if people want to exit the business, we hope people don't want to exit the business, but it's the reality of it. And a lot of franchises make it hard. And I don't think we do in gyms. So
No, absolutely
if
not.
people do want to exit their business, is that an option for them?
Yeah, exiting a business, but also a thing that I think is fairly unique called a split.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about both of those. So when it comes to exiting, what we suggest is plan for your exit. So like if you're going to sell your car, you can put your car up on eBay and flog it off, or you might want to get it cut and polished and present it the best way it can be. So preparing a business for sale, really important. If you've got a customer list, if you're deciding you might sell the car with it, which has got the signage on it, they're all things that add value to your business. So you let your franchisor know that you're selling or you'd like to sell, and your franchisor is actually obligated to help sell that business. We will go out of our way if we get an inquiry to let them know this is an opportunity and that comes with whatever that might be. So that's a real value proposition. I recently sold one down near Geelong to an incoming, and that person's now hit the ground and doing really well in an established area, kicking on. Territory is an interesting proposition because you own it, as opposed to, as I said, when I sold my business, well, I didn't sell it. There was nothing there. But a successful gym's business means you've got a product that's worth something. So we're not selling you, we're selling that area and that business. So the other thing you can do is you can build up a good business, and if you've done the right thing and demonstrating you're a good franchisee by making good sound decisions and profitable outcomes, we can split that as a territory divided in half or any size you like, because somebody can buy a going business concern. So that's a great way to come into a business. A split is a really good opportunity for a start.
It's a great option. It's a very unique thing with the gym system as well, and I think we encourage that, and that's a great thing as well because we're a flat fee model, so that's what gym wants to do. Now, Phil, is there anything else I should ask you that I haven't asked you about being a franchisee in your division?
I think one of the great things about being a franchisor is you get a chance to build your business. So having a successful team and a really positive team, if they're happy-going guys, working towards the end of that journey, as I said, it's a process coming into a business and then moving through it. As a franchisor, we look to sell our businesses as well. So I'm working towards retirement. I'll hope in the next year or two that I'll be moving out of a successful business. So franchisors selling a gym's franchise is another great opportunity worth looking at. If you're a successful business operator, you've got good people management skills, there's a great opportunity to come in and build an even better business.
And what are you going to do in retirement, Phil? I don't think you'll be out of the game, but what are you going to...
I've got a few ideas. I'm thinking I'll still do a bit of teaching as well.
Yes.
So giving a bit back. I haven't finished my journey by any means.
Which part? I should have asked you your region. So you're in the south in Geelong, right? Which region?
I look after the western side, rather.
Western side.
Let's do that again. I look after the western side of Victoria.
Yep.
So I effectively cover to the South Australian border.
Oh, wow.
So I've got Warrnambool, Port Fairy, right round the Bellarine Peninsula, the whole Geelong region, and coming back up towards Ballarat. And then I cut across towards Benalla.
Well, Geelong is booming at the moment, so it seems
is.
it's absolutely booming in Geelong. I think it's one of the fastest. Is it the fastest growing? I think.
I'm not sure. I'd have to do the homework.
It's right
It
up
does
there.
vary. It was Tarneit, Truganina,
Yeah.
Casey for a little while. So Victoria itself, though, has been doing very well. We've been in a bit of a quieter time for the last 12, 18 months, but I think we're ready to take off. Today, they just announced a new development going out at Beveridge.
Yep.
With 47,000 homes approved to be built out there. So the northern end of Melbourne's about to go absolutely gangbusters.
And what do you love about living in Geelong?
Geelong's different again. Great football team for a start. But the good thing about Geelong, it's a different pace, different lifestyle. For me, it's about going back to my grassroots. Families all down there. It's just a very comfortable place to be.
Well, it's very popular for a reason in Geelong. So if you're looking for a change around that area, what Phil was just saying, then please inquire as well. And obviously the region will be on the market as well, maybe in a year or two too, which is a good opportunity from the sounds of it. So Phil, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
If you are interested, guys, simple, just call 131-546-gyms.net or just Google Gyms Building Inspections. Inquire now, start the process, and hopefully we'll get you in here sharing your story in a year or two's time.